So good morning. Today we are going to deal with the new essay in module 3, the second essay, Nature of the Linguistic Sign. Hope you are aware of the writer or the essayist. Name of the essayist, Ferdinand de Saussure. Please see the spelling. Please note down the spelling, Ferdinand de Saussure. Okay. So for D is not capitalized, so he is actually sometimes called the father of modern linguistics. So already I told you, most of the essay or all of the essays prescribed in literary criticism and theory papers, we normally try to set it or discuss those in the context of or in connection with the some of the literary theories those are existing or those we are studying. In that regard, we attached the first essay with that is prefers to lyrical ballads with a romantic criticism or theory, whichever it may be, as a movement or as a theory, whatever it is, we try to set or learn some discuss the essays in the context of such theories. And second one, Saussurean, the nature of the linguistic sign. That is the name of the essay. And Ferdinand de Saussure, of course, we are going to discuss this essay in the context of one of the literary theories which is already introduced to you as part of module 4. That's why instead of going to module 3 first, that's the essay part first, we jumped to this fourth module and finished off all the literary movements in the beginning itself, then came back to module 3. So that is the way we deal it here, because without having a base in these literary movements or theories as such, there is no point in our talking about the higher level essays. Only after you are having base in this part, there is point in dealing with the essays. Those are connected with this. So I introduce you, I tell you this essay, Saussurean linguistic or nature of the linguistic sign as an essay, is immediately connected with the theory called structuralism. Hope you remember. Structuralism, the major tenets of structuralism, already told, taught, and hope you do remember the same. Structuralism, please latecomers, please note down. We are going to deal with the essay, nature of the linguistic sign, and it is connected with the movement called structuralism. So we have structuralism, post-structuralism, modernism, postmodernism, and different features already discussed as such. Do you remember? Don't you remember? Hope you remember. And still I tell you, structuralism as a theory. Post-structuralism wanted to move away from the linguistic, linguistic circle. That is, structuralism originated from linguistics, and we saw post-structuralism originated from philosophy, and how their nature of approaching language as well as other features of language itself is different because of the same reason. So structuralism, the main thing you have to remember is that it originated from linguistics. So linguistics, of course, you have studied linguistics and you know the topics or the areas covered by the linguistics. So the scientific study of language, right? So different features of language. It's an in-depth study of the different features of language. And of course, structuralism, the main tenet, the major argument is that in the beginning I told you, things cannot be understood in isolation. They have to be seen in the context of the larger structures they are part of. This is the essence of the belief, and all those explanations were already given. That is again structures and the importance of dealing with the structures in the larger context. So we have simple words and words combining to form phrases and later sentences, and lengthy sentences forming or the sentences in general, or at a higher plane we talk about discourses, the extreme level of the combination. So those larger structures, larger part, whole, we have different structures. And for that basic part we begin with the language study. We start with the parts of speech, all those. Don't worry, grammar is not going to be taught again. It's not about grammar but about the major features of language and the way we have to approach different language systems, nature of the linguistic sign. So we are going for an in-depth study. It's not very basic level, but in the beginning itself I told you, even though I told you to project the essay, I'm not going to deal with the essay as we do with the other. It's impossible to deal this essay the way we deal with the other ones. That's almost always like reading or giving the major points in the real format. That's a linear mode of explanation. That even is impossible in this case, because this essay is particularly about understanding the basic concepts first. May not be in the real order that is given in the essay. That is the first thing. It is about taking all the important parts from here and there, collecting from here and there, making it as a or arranged format and giving you the basic ideas first, then going to the essay after you are having the basic ideas as such. It's not even about talking about structuralism as such, but structuralism and even beyond we have to discuss the basic, the in-depth analysis of structuralism we may have to go for. Okay, so the basic concept, and of course in connection with the Saussurean ideas. So one thing you have to understand is, when you discuss a theorist or a persona in the context of or in connection with a theory, you have to keep in mind it's not just one person who is behind the whole development of that theory. Is it so? No. Many persons are there. The person, his contemporaries, his followers, later critics, everyone contributes to the theory. Okay, so structuralism, of course, you can locate a lot of people who once belonged to structuralism, but once post-structuralism got introduced, they shifted their identity or shifted their position from post-structuralism to post-structuralism, the same way modernism to post-modernism. So that is possible. You see people who change their political views and go to another parties. So in the same way, in theory also you can see the same. See the same kind of a strategy. So sometimes it's like a theory. It's not. There is not a. You cannot have it as a birthmark. You cannot say that you belong to structuralism then, and why are you talking about, why are you supporting post-structuralism now? That is not, there is no provision as such. Of course, people can change their views. In the same way, you have to see, if you discuss one person in the context, just one person in connection with some of the essays introduced to you, please see there are a lot many critics along with them, behind them, before them, after them. You can see all these. Okay, but the major point is, all these people contribute in one way or other to the development of the field. So here, of course, once you talk about post-structuralism, structuralism, a major figure who comes to mind is Ferdinand de Saussure himself, and his essay we have to discuss as part of our course. Okay. So let me get you the major ideas first. This theory of structuralism has its root in the thinking of the Swiss linguist Ferdinand de Saussure. Okay. So his major ideas contributed to this theory. He was a key figure in the development of modern approaches to language study. So traditional language we always talk about. Traditional grammar we talk about. That is the grammar that I taught you during first semester. That is English for competitive examination. That is for a basic conversation, and many other part where we deal with our language in a smooth way. The very traditional structures and traditional divisions like open class, closed class. But language studies, linguistic studies have taken a very different turn thereafter. We have modern linguistics and many further developments in the area. So Saussure and many other contemporaries of hers contributed to the same. Saussure concentrated on the patterns and functions of a language. That is structure, patterns, even the deeper areas, not as we talk about the basic concepts like the parts of speech or the alphabet and the major word forming for combination, sentence structure. No, basic sentences. We divided the sentence types we discussed. That is, of course, we tell that the basic sentence types. That means more than that is available. Right? Yeah. Functions of language, all those I told you, patterns and functions of language in use today, with the emphasis on how meanings are maintained and established, and on the functions of grammatic structures. Of course, we are not going to abandon the grammatic structures, grammatic functions, but we will discuss it in a different plane. It is not as easy as we discuss the traditional grammar system or grammatical lessons, but here we take an entirely different plane or different turn. That is the meanings we are going to concentrate on first thing. So don't worry, we are not going, it's not about teaching vocabulary, but how meaning is evolved, or how meanings are constituted, how meanings are found out in a language use or between some language users, and functions of grammatical structures, how each grammatical structure is important in communication. All these are his areas of interest, and we will discuss we will come to that later once we move along with the essay. Okay, so in the essay Nature of the Linguistic Sign, he emphasized that the meanings we give to words are purely arbitrary. First argument. So this, let us take the major points as for a basic understanding of the essay. So first word I introduced to you as part of Saussurean linguistic study is the arbitrary. Let me type it here, arbitrary. What is the term? Arbitrary. Have you heard about the term arbitrary? Arbitrary. Okay, I will get you the meaning. Arbitrary, it's not, it's something not rule bound. That is the main meaning of the major meaning of the term arbitrariness. Arbitrary, rule, not rule bound, not bound by, not rule, not decided by rule or any other regulation. No, not rule bound. So here, let me type it here. Yeah. So this is the exact meaning of the term arbitrary. He says that the beginning itself, he wants to emphasize that meanings we give to words are purely arbitrary, and that these meanings are maintained by convention only. Okay, let us take an example. Okay, let us take an example. Okay, let me read the whole part and then I will get you example. Don't worry. The whole part, let me read. Purely arbitrary, and that these meanings are maintained by convention only. What are the convention? Hope you know conventionally they are like that. Conventionally we practice this or that. So that is a kind of the practice we take for granted, or the way we do something with all the conventions only. There is no inherent connection between a word and what it designates. Okay. So you have, all of you listen to classes on your mobile, or you hold a pen, you hold a book with you. Okay, book in English, you know what a book is. How did you come to, or how did a person come to the conclusion that this is book? How did you begin to, just think about that situation, or just think about the idea of your calling a book, or a pen. Why it is not a chalk? Why it is not a pillow? Why this pen is not a pillow? Why this computer is not a calculator? Why the bottle is not a pot? The terms we are already using, nowhere it is written in rule, any constitution, under any constitution you cannot see, you can see that, see, this is a book, you have to call this book or you will be hanged. Okay, I decide to kill a person. So that I will be given punishment. I will be hanged to death or whatever. We have by law certain rules and social system to punish if you go against something. But just think about a person. You have one of you who has reached with us now. Let me see. Suada. Okay. Suada starts or decides to call her bag. Tomorrow onwards, she decides to call her bag pen. Can anyone punish her? By any law can you be punished? No. So that is the arbitrariness of the linguistic sign. That is, meanings you attribute to things are purely arbitrary. You think that, and they maintained only by convention. But yeah, that is the point. Only by convention. So we all use English. We all use Malayalam. And there is a convenience that if I talk about book, you bring the book itself. So nobody is obstinate about calling a book a pencil or chalk or whatever. So that if I tell 36 of you, 35 of you, or 50 of you, 55 of you to take, all of you take your book, all of you will be taking book itself. Okay, so that is a convention which is for the sake of convenience, not at all or nowhere bound by rules. So until Sosho talked about this, no one thought about the idea. So everyone felt it to be okay, fine, this is book. Of course, there is no other thought arising. No one thought about the possibility that even though I refuse to call this a book or this a computer and opt for some other word, I cannot be hanged. I cannot be punished by any law of any nation. So purely by convention, that is a kind of understanding, a kind of tacit understanding. Only then communication becomes possible. Just think about our classroom situation. I entrust a person in the midst of my dealing with the lesson, dealing with the lectures. I run short of chalk piece. I want to write on the board, and I entrust with a person, a student, to go and collect chalk from the department. Fine, usually it happens. Sometimes it happens. And just think that the student takes chalk as a term for table. And think about him or her bringing a table of another faculty to the classroom. Just think about the hue and cry that can take place. So this is why we take it by convention. We take it by convention that, okay, I use English and I use it for mainly, of course, in the very beginning of our language, introduction to language, we say language is a tool for communication. Of course, we are not going to we do not use it for making a chaotic situation atmosphere anywhere, but for the sake of communication. So if a teacher wants chalk piece to be brought to the classroom by a student, she wants chalk itself. And of course, as a student, if the person is interested with a particular task, The person is supposed to, or at least obliged in that context, not everywhere but at least in the classroom context, for the smooth running of the lesson, the person is supposed to bring a chalk itself. Right. So that is the way we make it somewhere fit to, we stay somewhere fit to the convention of the usage of a language. Fine. So hope it is clear to you. അതായത് നമ്മൾ ചോക്ക് എന്ന് വിളിക്കുന്നതിനെ ചോക്കാണ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ബുക്കാണ് എന്ന് ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ പറഞ്ഞു വെച്ച് ഓൾറെഡി ആരൊക്കെ തീരുമാനിച്ചതാണ്. ഇറ്റ്സ് നോട്ട് റിട്ടൺ ബൈ റൂൾ ഒന്നും അല്ല. ഞാൻ അതിന് നാളെ മുതൽ ബുക്ക് എന്ന് വിളിച്ചാലും ആർക്കും അതിന് ബൈ ലോ എന്നെ പണിഷ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. You get the idea? So that is the point at which social talks is just purely arbitrary. The meanings you attribute to things are purely arbitrary, maintained only by convention. What is the reason for this convention? എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് കൺവെൻഷൻ നമുക്ക് വേണ്ടി വരുന്നത്? എന്തായാലും നമ്മൾ ലാംഗ്വേജ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യണ്ട. എനിവേ വി യൂസ് ദിസ് ലാംഗ്വേജ്. സോ ദാറ്റ്സ് ഫൈൻ. അതല്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്താണ്, ഞാൻ ചോക്ക് എടുക്കാൻ പറയുന്ന ആള് അടുത്ത പിന്നെ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റിൽ പോയിട്ട് ടീച്ചറിന്റെ ടേബിൾ ആണ് എടുത്തിട്ട് വരുന്നതെങ്കിലോ, വി ഹാവ് എ വെരി പ്രോബ്ലമാറ്റിക് സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ദർ. Right. So that is the same difficulty we come across usually when we have one language. There is a term for one particular object which is a very problematic or tabooed usage in another language. We come across such situations. ലാംഗ്വേജിൽ സാധാരണ ഒരു കാര്യം റെഫർ ചെയ്യാൻ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു ടേം വേറെ ലാംഗ്വേജിൽ പിന്നെ എന്താണ് അബ്യൂസീവ് ടേമായി മാറുന്നൊരവസ്ഥ. But inside one language system itself, if that kind of a situation arises, in the mode of the example that I gave you with the chalk, instead of chalk a person brings something else and the whole situation becomes tough. So that can be avoided if you take it off, if you stick on to this by this convention as such. That is the only reason why language goes in this way, or meanings and words go or stick together in this way. That is what the first major argument of social. Of course, don't look at the essay now. I'm taking the main points from the essay first to get you the basic ideas. And he talks about an exception where there is a minor exception of a small number of onomatopic words. With that part, the first discussion comes to an end. That's a onomatopic words. What do you mean by onomatopoeia? Onomatopic words are, you know, of course, the main example I get you, cuckoo, cuckoos, bus. The words, the terms are there on these particular animals just in connection at least with the sounds they make. Cuckoo, the song of the bird, and we call it cuckoo itself. Just think about the way we people are given names according to the sounds we make. Do we make only cuckoo and hiss or buzz? No, we make a lot of sounds. So just the words exactly connected to the sound, or somewhere or other it is naturally connected. That is an exception from the social talks about the arbitrariness of the word and the meanings. Okay, so that is an exception. Whereas cuckoo, of course, it has something to do with the bird. His, the sound, of course, that has something to do with the animal. Whichever animal, some sounds which they produce, and if they are named after the sounds they produce, fine. That is not arbitrary but naturally connected. But what about book? Does a book make a book sound anything like that? No. Mobile? No. What about computer? Student? Teacher? No inherent connection. That words are somewhere combined with in between some letters, and you use it as a word and you attribute a meaning. It's just about an attribution. Fine. So this is the way he talks about the arbitrariness of linguistic sign at the beginning. Okay. So that's all with that part. Let me pause. Then, yeah. Just wait. Okay. So Shorian, theoretical introduction or introduction to the essay where I told about arbitrariness. See, 3 points we are going to discuss. The first thing it is arbitrariness. Second one it is relational that I am going to talk now. And the third one is constitutional. Please be reminded. Please remember these 3 terms. Next point about language, linguistic sign, he talks was relational. Meaning of words are relational. So of course he emphasizes meaning in the beginning. Okay, relational. The term you know, relational, relation, that is, but how it is relevant in the context of talking about meaning. That's what I am going to tell you. Okay, that is to say, no word can be defined in isolation from other words. Okay, sometimes we talk at least. You are reading a novel, a short story. You do not go running every now and then to check out for a meaning in a dictionary unless and until it obstructs the whole understanding of your reading. Sometimes we try to catch the meaning of a word even though we do not know the exact meaning. We try to get the idea, or at least try to assume the meaning. That must be this, or that may be this. This may be that. So this is the way we try to get the meaning from a context in which it is placed. There is no word can be defined in isolation from other words. In this context, a word can play this meaning, or next another place it may be something else. So this is the way you have relational aspect of meaning for words. So isolation from other words, defined in isolation from other words. That's what he says. No word can be defined in isolation from other words. Isolation and all, I do not have to get you the meaning now. Isolating something, that is separating. So of course you have to see the words and their meanings in relational position, that is in connection with the something which lies around the same, or some other words that lie around the word. So if we have paired opposites, see, he gets the example of some paired opposites like male, female. What is male? That is not female. What is female? That is not male. So in relational aspect, he says about some paired opposites to define or to explain this part. Relational position, relational meaning. Day. What is not? Night. Night. What is not? Day. So we feel it like some exact diametrical opposites, like some common feature is missing, and we try to get the meaning as part of the other one. Okay, so in a relational way you analyze the meaning. Male, female, day, night, good, evil. Okay, so each designates the absence of the characteristics included in the other. That is the main thing. Not actually the way I gave you the example, but just to understand how meanings are placed in a context, I get told about the novel reading and the way you try to get the meaning of a word that you may not be aware of. But here it is mainly about relational aspect. When you talk, you just take these examples as such. Then you talk about day and you talk about night. What is missing in night? What is a major feature of day? That is light. And you have darkness during night. And if you talk about day, it is darkness that is absent. So it's about the absence of presence of something, some feature, characteristic feature, and you relate that, and that's how he talks about the relational aspect of defining meaning or finding out meaning. Okay. So that male can be seen as meaning, not female. Similarly, we could have no concept of day without the linked concept of night. Night you try to connect with the day and the absence of daylight. Fine. So this is the relational way of taking meaning. First thing it is arbitrariness. That is, you just talk about it, you just assign a word and call it particular, to use that word for referring to that particular thing, object or concept, whatever it may be. Next one is about finding or taking the meanings of words from a relational position, or you try to relate something entirely immediately connected with that, or but somewhere it is absent, some qualities are absent, day, night, good, evil, female, male. In that way also you can take meanings. Of course, please see, once we move along, first thing, arbitrariness we talked about. Here also it is about meaning. Second one also it is about meaning. Third one, it is very even interesting. I'll tell you. Thirdly, for sure, language constitutes our world. It doesn't just record or label it. The constitutional feature. The third term, it is constitutional. Let me type it here for you. Okay. First thing, arbitrary. The whole three of those. Let me type arbitrary. Second one, which is it? Relational. And the third one I am going to talk about is constitutional feature. Constitutional feature. That example, it will be really interesting for you. I'll get you. That is our word. It doesn't just record or label it. Meaning is always attributed to the object or idea by the human mind and constructed by and expressed through language. It is not already contained within the thing. Well-known example will get you. Okay. Constituting something. That means you attribute, again, the attributing quality, attribute a meaning to an object or idea by the human mind. Of course, language is not something, it is of course human invention, right? You know how, see, all these grammatical rules, everything that didn't come naturally or doesn't come naturally as you have rainfall or see, photosynthesis. No. It's almost like some people invent, some people decide that, yeah, it is he is, it is they are, I do, he does, she does, you do. So how does it come? Why it is not how do, why it is how do not, it is how does it, how doesn't it, why are you, it's not why is you. The rules are already there, but we know someone else as a human being found it out, or they invented or they decided, and others use it as the common users of language. That's not. So here again, it's by human mind, this process of constitutional feature, constituting language. Let us take the example. After that we will go back to the discussion. Okay. Bhagat Singh was a freedom fighter for Indians. Just think about that. A patriot, for Indians, Bhagat Singh is a freedom fighter. What about for a Britisher? Is he so? No, he is a pure terrorist. So can you ever say that, yeah, Bhagat Singh is a freedom fighter? From India, or as an Indian you can say. But is it contained within that particular person, or is it already, can you label it as a fixed feature for this person? No. The person is good for one and bad for another one. So this is again about the constitutional way. Human mind attributes the qualities. Of course, we have this feature. Some of you tell that Ashwati Miss is fine. Okay. Her classes are fine, better. Okay. But some of you tell that, oh, I never understand what word she talks about. That is another way of constituting your features, some qualities, some negative or positive qualities. It is according to the human mind that talks about it. It's not fixed that Ashwati Miss is a good teacher or bad teacher or the best teacher or the worst teacher. No, that is not the way. You people decide it according to your understanding, according to your see the approachability, all those. You have different taste. Some of you like the way the classes are dealt in any teacher's cases. I just talked about me as an example because that is better. Fine, because I can talk about me, I can talk about positively or negatively about me. No one else will question. That is another point of. But it is about, I think you got the point. As an Indian, you have some ideals, like we have some ideas that this person fought for the country, this person tried to evade the British rule. So that person, of course, in our concept, in our view, the person is a freedom fighter. But for those Britishers, this person had been a real headache, and they never attach the term freedom fighter for this person. Okay, so that is the way it is a constitutional feature. Now let us go back to that the explanation. Language constitutes our world. It doesn't just record or label it. So that we have seen, there is no label on this person as such. Whether Bhagat Singh or any other freedom fighter or any other person who did something that may be good for one particular sect of people, and that may not be that good for another sect of people. Britishers, he had obviously been an enemy, but for Indians he had been good. So this is the way it is just a label and not something contained within it. Okay. So, and it is constructed and expressed through language. It's not already contained within. Inherently, you cannot say that this person is this, that person is that. No, you have to see it from different subjective positions. If you are an Indian, of course, okay. So if an American talks about, they do not have much to do with Bhagat Singh. They didn't have they may not have good or bad opinion about. But Britishers, of course, they know how much difficult it had been. For an African, okay, he was one of the fighters, freedom fighters, or one of the persons who stood for a country, another country, their native culture and all. Okay, they may hold a positive framework, at least a positive thought about this person, but of course the difference is according to the subject positions. You think it from your subjective viewpoint, and that is any time it may change. Okay, so it's not already contained within the thing. Well-known examples are given with this freedom fighter and terrorist. How the same person becomes freedom fighter for one nation and terrorist for the other one. There is no neutral or objective way of designating such a person, merely a choice of two terms which construct that person in certain ways. It is constructing the person. It's just about, it's merely a choice of two terms. Okay, so a person who residing in India, can everyone say that all people belonging to a nation are high-tech patriarch? Sorry. Patriots, patriarch and patriot, very different terms. Patriarch is a dominant male system, patriarchy. Very sorry. It's patriot. Patriot is your love for the country, your nation. Patriotism. So in that case, you cannot always say that everyone belonging to a nation is highly fond of the nation and the national policy. So some of them may not feel that Britishers were not really bad. You have a very famous conversation, a very famous dialogue in Pranjiyattan movie. It's a very funny dialogue, but we have to see the politics behind all those. Politics not in the sense of party politics, but the way people begin to think about. I'll tell you that later. But so here we have to see how meanings are somewhere or other just fluctuating. All these three terms, when you think together, take together, arbitrariness, first thing. So we thought that okay, all these words, never we thought about this. Why a book is just a book? It's not a pen or pencil holder or chair or cart or whatever. But this is a different take on that position. Get the idea? Yeah. So in the same way, relational meaning also, you know, it is about finding out the meaning from the other absent feature or some other word immediately connected with that. In that way also you can achieve meaning. Then the third point, it is constitutional feature. That is, you are constituting a word according to the meaning according to the subject position. Or it's not fixed labeling, you cannot make on a person or as a meaning, as a term, you cannot always fix on something. It's not something neutral or objective. But then the objective and subjective, what's the difference between objective and subjective? Objective answers, objective questions. If I get you 10 objective questions to you, and all of you mark the correct answers, all of you will be having the same answer. Only one objective answer for all those. All people, even if it is 100 or 1000 people writing the same examination, okay, of course you can run out of choice. You may opt for a different choice, but only one answer will be the as correct one for each question. That is what you mean by objective type questions. And you have subjective answers like do you like online teaching or do you like online classes? You can, of course you have yes or no answer, but you have some subjective points to add. Yeah, I like it, but it's not that qualitative as you have it in the classroom, exact offline classroom sessions. Yeah, I like it very much because we can stay away from all the classroom differences, classroom disturbances. Next subjective answer. I like it, but net connectivity is very problematic, so I find it very difficult to operate. I never like it because I have to wake up by 8:30. Another subjective answer. So subjective answers can be numerous. As many persons are there, you can have as many subjective answers. But objective answers are not like that. You have only one for one question. Sometimes you have even then you may ask. Sometimes PSC. Sometimes both answers are right. They have given. That is again the problem of question. That means it's not an objective question. That's all. Objective question, objectivity is something. There is nothing called subjective. The subjective itself is something fluid. Your subjective position can change. That is why in the beginning itself I told you about people going for opting a different political lineage after a particular age or particular time. They opt for one person belonging to the one politics. You might have come across them opting for another entirely different politics. Okay, so this is the way it is somewhere fluctuating. Meanings, it's as a whole, what do you understand from Saussurian viewpoints? 3 of the main points I have already taught today. What is that? What do you get as a whole? You can come to the conclusion that meanings, it's not actually very fixed as we think. It can change, you can have an entirely different take on a meaning, or you can have a different idea about a meaning. So this is the way it can have different take on meaning. It's not as we sometimes we do not think about that. We think that yeah, I communicated, that is the meaning, no other idea, no other question about the meaning or quality, whatever it may be. Okay, so this is the way we introduce today this is more than enough, and next today we will go to theories of representation, and we'll have some other main concepts given by this person, and then we will go back to the essay. We can never deal with the essay at a UG level. There is no point in going to the essay straight and coming back to these main points. Okay, so that's all for the day. Thank you.